XRP is going to be the first properly regulated crypto in the US. Or rather, that's how things are looking right now. I've posted it on Twitter a couple of hours ago saying literally that. XRP is going to be the standard. It'll be the first properly regulated crypto in the US. And as you can see from a lot of the comments, people agree. There's a slight misconception with the whole Ethereum debacle, but that leads me to one very important conclusion. There's some tribalism going on in the crypto space. For example, a lot of Ethereum maximalists only like Ethereum, hence the name maximalist, right? Some people in the XRP community only like XRP, some people in Bitcoin only like Bitcoin, which inherently is not wrong. It's not wrong to like one thing and despise the others. But you can kind of hear from what I'm saying that, well, if everybody thinks that way, things usually don't flow that well. We're seeing a lot of skepticism surrounding Ripple almost every single day. Yet, as you guys have most likely noticed from my videos, XRP, which again is not the same as Ripple. And since I've seen a couple of these discussions over on Twitter, I'm going to try to be a little bit better in making my titles to represent either Ripple or XRP. As again, Ripple is a private company and XRP is a very popular crypto. But I'm basically bullish on both of these things, and you can actually invest on both of them separately though. Now, as I just stated, they're doing a lot of good stuff over for Ripple and both XRP. For example, this article right here, which got posted a couple of hours ago. Ripple partners with Travelex to launch enterprise crypto payment services in Brazil. The rollout of Ripple's fast and cheap on-demand liquidity payment service, which again utilizes XRP, means that enterprises will no longer have to wait 3 to 5 days to settle costly cross-border transactions. Exactly this and reasons alongside of this are why I keep covering Ripple/XRP, is the fact they're solving such a huge problem. A lot of people are just looking at the lawsuit thinking, okay, the SEC might have a point for this or that reason, or, well, because XRP works with banks, it's security for some strange reason. I always like to think about it from a different side, which is, okay, so how many people is it helping and how many people is it potentially hurting? With the whole XRP being a security equation, it doesn't really add up. It's helping a ton of people through what they're trying to build, of which not that much should even use XRP necessarily. It could. And how many people does it hurt? Who exactly does it hurt? Who exactly is out there thinking XRP is a bad thing, that's a scam or whatnot? There's a couple dozen people, but in comparison to the 70,000 people that try to sign to get the SEC to back off, the equation is not good. Now you gotta understand, Ripple expanding like this is a pretty critical feat to the lawsuit. The fact they're increasing their realm while being sued by the SEC from a certain perspective shows some solidarity from other countries around the world to not give a crap about what the US SEC thinks. Again, Brazil's central bank approved this bank and they're utilizing XRP right now. It kind of gives a big FU to the US SEC because they're like, well, no, this might all be wrong. But then every other country's like, well, maybe you think it's wrong, but we don't, and we don't care. Then again, it's not as if the SEC is always on the most clear of paths, right? Take a look at this article right here. The SEC hints at path for digital assets to morph into non-securities. I stated it a little bit earlier over on Twitter and actually in one of my previous YouTube videos, I think yesterday. This year is going to be the year of crypto lawsuits, and you should be prepared for another dozen at least coming from the SEC, and it's not going to stop there. They're going heavy. And depending on what the verdict is going to be of the Ripple lawsuit, they're going to go absolutely crazy with the lawsuits. No crypto project is going to be safe. The only ones that are potentially safe are Bitcoin, and the list kind of stops there, right? Ethereum might be, but it still has to be seen. They've gotten a free pass, but they're not completely out of the clear, because even Gary Gensler sometimes says, it might actually just be a security, right? Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, all of those are fine, but again, maybe not. It just depends on their approach soon. Same thing goes for Dogecoin. Some have said it's fine. A lot of others have said, no, it's not. So we'll have to see. But this might actually be a little bit of a breakthrough what we're seeing right here, because take a look. The order contains an interesting new paragraph, not present in any of the prior ICO settlements, that could hint to the SEC's view on making future determinations of whether a digital asset is a security. Quote, if respondents plans to file a Form 15 to terminate its registration pursuant to Rule 12G4 under the Securities Act. It no longer constitutes a class of securities because the BLT is no longer a security. Bacon, lettuce, tomato, by the way. It's a sandwich, if you're wondering. Now, what this refers to is this appears to be an admission by the SEC of a belief held by many practitioners in the digital asset industry that a token that was once a security could, under the right circumstances, cease to be a security at some point in the future. It is unclear from the order what basis the SEC might assent to a digital assets treatment as a non-security. While in the past, the SEC released guidance on when a digital asset might be an investment contract under Howey, with a heavy focus on interoperability and decentralization of the underlying protocol. The Division of Enforcement has tried to walk this back in its prosecution of XRP against Ripple. This language could hint that the SEC may at some point become willing to make determinations that digital assets are not securities beyond the extremely limited 3 examples, where the SEC has granted no action relief in Turnkey, Jet, Pocketful of Quarters, and Vcoin. Point being, if we're taking a look at Ethereum, for example, can we say it's not a security? Yes, but no. We cannot say that they didn't have themselves a offering like the one that other companies are being charged for. What we can say is that right now it's properly decentralized, and so it might actually fall out of the realm of being a troublesome project, so to speak. Now, somewhere we got to draw that line. Some said, okay, if it decentralizes itself in 3 years, we're good. Some others said, no, it's a different time. The most important question to me, though, is what exactly is the SEC saying, and what exactly are their guidances right now? You can see how, even through the wording, it's still pretty vague exactly what the SEC is doing right now and whether or not this is actually applicable to everybody or just exceptions and what exactly these rules are. As I said earlier, how to measure decentralization. How exactly do we go about all of this? It's a pretty difficult little battle. Over on my Twitter page, I also put up a question. And actually, before we move on, guys, if you're enjoying these daily crypto videos, make sure you press that like button. I'm also hosting a $10,000 crypto giveaway right now that 10 people will win. So it will be $10,000 split over 10 people. And all you have to do is press the link down below and just sign up through any one of these means. That's all you have to do, or all of them, to increase your chances to win. And as I said, I put something as a question over on Twitter. And I actually want you guys to answer this down below in the comment section as well. Do you honestly believe $10,000 to $35,000 per XRP is possible? And when checking through, a lot of people thought that this was my own expectation, that I am trying to make it seem as if this is certainly going to happen. A lot of people are trying to make me out to be a little bit of an idiot, I noticed, even though it's just a question. I think it's a fair thing to ask. You know, I don't know why I couldn't ask that. Yeah, I mean, I've had a good little laugh at all this. I mean, I can enjoy it. Again, it's not a price prediction. It's just a question of whether or not you think it's possible. I think it's pretty similar to asking a question of, hey, do you think that Bitcoin at $15 million is possible? You know, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's just a question of, do you think it's possible? But, all right. To come back at the point, though, because I think a lot of people are wondering about this. This discussion went pretty crazy, and I think JWM actually makes a little bit of sense here. He says, at 225, it passes Ethereum market cap, which it has done before in the past. Remember, XRP is pretty old, and in the big bull run of 2017, they were higher than Ethereum, so it's not as if that is infeasible. And at $6, though, it passes Bitcoin's market cap. Again, I did not verify this, but sure. Not possible unless they burn 99% of the tokens and fix the supply at 1 billion tokens. Maybe then we get $100 to $500 a coin max. There's one thing which people are overlooking, though, and it's actually a couple of different things. All right, you got to understand. If we get this settlement that everybody's waiting for, we're most likely, it's not financial advice, not a guarantee, going to do pretty well in terms of price. What am I honestly expecting myself? I'm thinking maybe along the lines of $12, which as of this point then, following his math, would be double the market cap of Bitcoin. But I don't think it's going to happen in a crazy spike instantly. It's like saying Bitcoin right now is at the top, or actually above the top of 2017-18. XRP's top in 2017-18 was about $3 something, almost $4. Well, if Bitcoin is up 25% from that, XRP could do that too. But the fact that they've been on the low for such a long while increasing so much in utility and whatnot, it's going to have a pretty good spike. And the fact that it's the first properly regulated crypto in the US, it's going to give it a spike. And then the relistings, and then the actual utility kick itself. Most likely, I'm thinking like $12 in a really short amount of time. But as I've stated before as well, I think the bull market will come back rather quickly, which is going to ignite a lot of coins like Bitcoin to pump up even more. Because I don't think with a settlement is going to beat Bitcoin straight away. When we're talking about $35,000 or $10,000 though, I've said it before. People keep saying, okay, it's going to encompass all the value of what needs to be transferred. And to a certain degree. If we're looking, for example, coins like Quant, where all the licenses from the banks and whatnot to hold it are so expensive, theoretically, that the more that hop on, the more expensive the price comes. And with XRP, there's this possibility of all the value transfers basically needing to be represented by some sort of token, and so the price is basically arbitrary. To some degree, it's true. I, in practice, only see a couple of different ways for this to happen. I don't really consider a Fed buyback. It's just not something I think is fathomable for my small, tiny little brain. Is it possible? Maybe, sure, but it's not something that I'm expecting to happen. Just being completely open with you. If XRP became the world digital reserve currency or whatnot, like some people are saying, the only thing that people always like to refer back to is that it needs to encompass all the wealth, in theory. Everything needs to be able to be bought. It needs to represent so much money, so the market cap needs to go up. And I guess, sure, but that's so far out that I can't really fathom exactly anything about it. It's the same thing as saying, for example, okay, XP can get to this price point, like $10,000, purely based on inflation. In theory, it's true, but we're going to have to look, for example, in theory, the inflation argument is true. If you just look far enough into the future, a couple hundred years, for example, it's most likely true that $10,000 at that point will have the purchasing power of $1, $10, $20, $50 right now. And for that reason, by definition, you are kind of right, if we look far enough into the future, my opinion. I've seen some counter arguments of people saying, no, but the fees would be crazy. Even David Schwartz, for example, on Twitter explained, no, the fees can easily be changed to make sure that it's never too crazy for a transaction, because of course the big banks still want those cheap fees, right? And if one XRP right now, or the smallest piece of an XRP, a drop, is all of a sudden $10, well, that wouldn't work, which again is able to be changed. And that leads me to, I guess, point number 2 in which it can happen, indeed a crazy burn. And I'm not talking about a 1%, not talking about a 55%. 55% of a burn is, in theory, not too far away. Because of course Ripple can just get rid of all their tokens that they have locked up in escrow. But even as I said before, if you look at Stellar XLM, it did okay for the price, but really not a crazy spike upwards because these coins were not in circulation anyway. So if they burn 99.9% of the coins or so, sure, but how are you going to get that done? How can you make sure that so much of these coins get burned if the people themselves don't want to burn their tokens? But then in turn, if everybody is going to burn, for example, 99% of the tokens that they hold, then what's the purpose of this? And another one that people like to often dress up. Okay, if Bitcoin and Ethereum could do it, then XRP can do so too. Again, guys, I am really bullish on XRP. I'm a big holder. It's the biggest crypto in my portfolio right now. So whenever I'm saying this, I'm not saying this to talk bad about it, and I think I very much understand exactly how this project is going to work. So when I speak, I think I speak with enough knowledge to draw these conclusions. But you can't compare Bitcoin and Ether to XRP. You might say, oh, but it's a lot better than both. Sure, but that does not mean that the price per coin can be higher than another. If I have, for example, a new token that I make, it's called one, and I only have one coin. If that coin goes to $1 billion per coin, well, the market cap is only $1 billion. So even though my coin is worth $1 billion a piece, which is crazy, it's still not even in the top 30 or not even in the top, I guess it's barely in the top 50 of biggest cryptos, even though my coin is worth $1 billion per coin. And obviously with Bitcoin, there's just a lot less coins out there. Same thing for Ethereum. So then there's this idea, which a lot of people have had and put up to me. Okay, what if they represent it differently? For example, we bundle 1,000 XRP together into a new, for example, let's call it XRP2, where currently 1,000 XRP, let's call it worth $1, are then transferred over into a package of this new XRP2. So every XRP is worth 1,000th of the XRP2, and then this XRP2 can easily get to the $10,000 value, which is basically just as saying, you're burning, for example, 99.9% of your coins, but in a different realm because you're transferring over and putting the decimal a couple of places to the other side. Again, is it possible to attain that value? Sure. But it's about the exact thing there. Value. How much would $10,000 in terms of value be? Is the price itself possible per coin? In a lot of different ways, sure. But the actual purchasing power of value and whatnot, I think we just usually have to look at kind of the flow of where things are going to stay relevant. You can surely think about the transferring all the value around the world over this system and whatnot, and thus it should have more of a higher price to be able to facilitate all that. Even though I can think of some counter examples, it's in theory, sure, it's fine, possible, whatever, but it's going to take a long time. Let's think within our own realm here. What is possible? What's going to happen? Almost certainly. What we know for certain is that over longer periods of time, the chance of XP going up in price is pretty high. And there's a good chance it's going to beat Bitcoin over the next couple of years. But there's a small chance that within the next 3 years, for example, let's take 3 years here, because it's a pretty long time, that within the next 3 years, the value of XRP is, for example, going to be 100 times greater than all the value locked up in the rest of the entire crypto market. The chance is just small. So if you're saying, okay, but crypto is going to 10,000 fold from here, I'm going to say, sure, that's surely possible. But over how long of a period? You can't say 3 years to me because that's crazy. Unless you're talking about the utility, which can surely increase 10,000 fold over a pretty short amount of time. But all the money locked up in it though, 10,000 fold? So my conclusion is it'll most likely follow along the line of Bitcoin a little bit. Would it be better for the price to be high? Sure. Is it possible for the price to be high? Yes, as I said, for a couple of different reasons. But honestly, I'd be pretty happy with a $20 XRP, for example, which I don't think is unbelievable whatsoever. I think it's just people who really have a very small investment that needed to get to 10,000 to have a sizable investment or so. But honestly, I think people that are actually invested in this with a good sum of capital would be pretty happy to see all-time high again, let alone $20, $50 would be crazy. I'm going to absolutely throw a crazy party the moment we get to 50. But if we're being honest and thinking about it, same thing as just think that Bitcoin at $100,000 and $1 million is not that crazy and it's going to happen. I think $100 per XRP is eventually going to happen as well, albeit not in the next couple of months or so, right? But I'm talking about eventually. In the same sense that I think $1 million for Bitcoin is certainly going to happen in my mind. But then talking about these prices, yeah, if you guys have a really good theory, let me know down below. I've read a lot of them already, and a lot of those are not by definition too crazy, but they're just something we can't really fathom just quite yet. For example, changing the entire financial system is happening already, sure. But even what the entire financial system is going to look like in 5 years, we can't really comprehend that. A lot of people also came back to the Jimmy Valley buyback theory, which I think is ridiculously dumb. But everybody got their own opinion on these matters, right? There is definitely something to be said about it. You can literally just screenshot this for a second and read through. I'm not sure why this guy, the James Valley, is given so much credit, because I think it's I guess I said ridiculously dumb. It's just but that's to me, right? That's to me. If you think that this is good, if you think that this is going to happen, please, by all means, think so. But if you're asking my opinion, even though nobody asked it, I guess some people did, but okay. I just think that this theory makes absolutely no sense in the way that he's written it out, at least. But it's mostly because it has to do with some laws and rules that are so improbable. As I said before, you can't fathom them yet. Because a long time ago, people were required to sell gold to the government at a set price. It might happen to XRP again in some way, shape, or form. Is it possible? By definition, sure. Is it probable? No. Can we fathom that this is going to happen? Can we plan on this happening? Absolutely not. Just open and honest. Then again, $10,000 per XRP in almost any way, shape, or form else. It would work fine for Ripple, it would work fine for the ecosystem, all things would be good. It's just getting there is the difficult part. One question I get quite often as well is regarding regulation. And one of the things I read was this: Tencent's NFT platform halts primary services amid regulatory concerns. So, as I stated earlier, one of the reasons why Andrew Tate, for example, bought Bitcoin and is so excited about it is because they can't take it away from you. Now, there's a thing called freezing, where they might be able to freeze accounts, for example. But one of the reasons we are so bullish on crypto is because in this newer financial system, even though theoretically speaking freezes are possible and some proposals are being set in place for grabbers, because they basically wanted that in a new financial system, if you're having a banking ecosystem, right, which, for example, can only be implemented on sidechains, but that's for a different day, different story. In theory, they wanted to make sure that in this new ecosystem of CBDCs, for example, that if you send something, it can actually be pulled back from criminals or because of a faulty transaction. So it's not always sent and sent forever. In a real cryptocurrency sense, though, that would not work. And honestly, one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on this crypto stuff is because regardless of what we do, people often say, yeah, but the government controls it. I don't think so. They really can't take it away from you. And even if the government does control it, then they need to make sure they use 51% of the entire network for example, a Bitcoin to take your money back. That's a significant amount of trouble for example, my $10, right? Or my $1 million even, or pick a number. So the chance of that happening is rather small. But yeah, honestly, I just think everything is going towards this new financial realm, mostly because it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more efficient for the people. People enjoy it, and that's obviously at the end of the day what you want. In a lot of places like China, though, I'm thinking it doesn't really properly work, and they're not allowing for it because of this inherent capability, how you say it? Property, that it's not able to be pulled back. So they can have money and do with it as they please, and you can't control it, you can't really do anything with it, which is why over in that area, over in China, I think they are so against you controlling your own money. But yeah, it's a different story for a different day, I guess. That was it for today's video, though, guys. It was a little bit of a crazy one, a couple of hills, a couple of bumps, but I think it was still a juicy little update. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you press that like button and maybe subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto video later today.